According to PwC, companies that deliver amazing customer experience can charge up to 16% more for their products and services. Yet, many businesses still attribute customer churn to pricing issues rather than experience. So in today's episode, we'll look into what really impacts your churn. Is it the pricing or is it customer experience? Okay, Simon, so have you ever paid for a product or services more just because they had better customer or user experience?
Yes. Yeah, I have, absolutely. And I think I'm not alone in saying Apple would be one of those companies that I've paid a lot more for their services.
Probably lots of more.
Yeah. And 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for a great customer experience, according to PwC research. So that's like 1 in 3 customers will leave a brand they love after just one bad experience, and 92% would completely abandon a company after 2 or 3 negative interactions.
Wow.
That's pretty mad, hey?
That's pretty mad, yeah.
So it becomes clear that product and customer experience are linked directly to the price you can charge, but businesses still believe that lowering and tweaking the price can reduce their churn better than addressing product experience issues.
Very interesting.
So that's why in today's episode, we're going to look at constant pricing tweaking, the side effects, what customers say versus what they do, the great deception, and then we've got our framework, how to identify if it's the price or the experience causing churn. And then we've got like a simple strategy to help you fix the price versus experience gap.
Cool. So let's start with one thing, and we see it all the time when working with clients, right? So the tweaking of the price is one of the things that it's the easiest to change, right? Because you don't have to change anything else. You don't have to really change your marketing, your product, or any other strategies that you have within your product. So the tweaking of the price and tweaking of the pricing page is something that a lot of businesses are trying to do in order to lower the churn. But actually, this study showed that pricing inconsistency can negatively impact perceived fairness of the product and leading to actually reduced retention. So actually, you're trying to fix the churn with like tweaking the price, but you get the completely opposite effect, right? So that's quite interesting. So let's have a look at the side effects.
And why is that? I'm just thinking it's because if you're a customer and then you see that the company's tweaked the prices and you've already paid a certain price.
Exactly. How would you feel like if you paid like £2,000 for your iPhone and then a month later somebody pays 1,000 for the iPhone? Like, I would feel really bad. I still would pay probably £2,000 for my iPhone. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so let's have a look at the side effects of if we keep tweaking the pricing, right? So one of the side effects would be probably customer confusion, right? So users don't understand what really they paying for, right? Mm-hmm. Like we said, if you look at the one day on the pricing list and it's different the next day, it's really, really confusing. Next thing that can happen actually if you're constantly tweaking your price is the loss of trust, right? Because you don't know why the company is treating you this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So price shift signal also instability of the business. Like I recently, this school, right? I recently got an email from school, that training platform that we kind of tested before.
Yeah.
And
membership website.
That membership website, yeah. That's right.
They've actually done a really good job of that.
Oh yeah, they're doing really, really good job, but I thought it was quite pricey. I think it was maybe...
For a long time, for many years, it's been quite a price.
Yes, yeah. I think it was maybe $100 a month or something like that.
I've got a feeling that's about right. Yeah, $99 perhaps.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
And I recently got an email saying instead of $99, now it's just £1 or $1 rather.
£1?
Yeah, $1.
Okay.
And I instantly, instead of thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity, I was thinking, oh, company's not doing really well.
Yeah, £1. That's
$1.
super low.
Yeah, it was $1.
Sure, it wasn't $9.
No. It was literally, I think, $1.
Wow.
Okay, even if it was $9, it doesn't really matter. But it's like a massive drop
Jump.
in the price. So I'm thinking, like, what's going on in the business straight away, instead of thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity. I think if they said, oh, it's just like limited time or something like that, I would probably think about it differently. But essentially, whenever we're doing something with pricing, our customers straight away think something is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another thing happens if you...
Did they explain that in the email?
Well, as you know, people don't read emails.
You just went
I
straight
just
to the
read
price.
the headline and I was like, oh, what's happening? It's just $1 or $9, I don't remember. But yeah, I probably will use that. I don't know. But interesting what was happening in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing that could happen if you tweak the price is that your support team, if you are the support team, then it's worse for you. But if you have a support team, they might have much more questions about the billing, so it's kind of like people will be confused, right?
From kind of current customers.
Customers.
Yeah.
Also, like if you even change it from, for current, if you're changing for current customers and they were paying X and then suddenly they're paying something else, if they missed email about, hey, we're changing the pricing, they just can start asking your support team about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think the most challenging thing in changing the pricing constantly is actually looking at the data, because metrics like, lifetime value, churn, customer acquisition cost, it becomes very unreliable and harder to make any decisions because they constantly look at different data sets or values, right? So it's actually difficult then to compare and make any decisions.
Yeah, because you've got a bit of a messy pattern, and it's like, when did that happen? And if you've got customers coming back asking for a refund or lowering of the price with the new offer, yeah.
And also it's like it becomes like comparing apples and pears, because if you had the same product at one price and then the same product at different price, how can you look at the customer acquisition, the cost changes, your lifetime value changes, a churn changes, like it's a lot of things then you need to realign, right?
Bit of unpicking.
Yeah, it's a lot of unpicking. It's difficult to compare. And if you're constantly doing that, then your analytics chart might just not be so clear to read.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing that might happen is marketing misalignment. So if you have a marketing team and you're selling at one price, then it's your actual advertising, ads and messaging become very outdated very quickly, right? Because if you're constantly changing the price, you might even forget to change the price in some of the places that you run ads for, right? So then it becomes actually absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how big the team is, the business, your resource capacity. Yeah, there could be a lot of places that need consideration when you're doing this.
Yeah, and lastly, I think one of the things that we just mentioned talking about school was perceived the evaluation, right? The evaluation of the value. So frequent drops suggest poor product value, and actually increases price sensitivity from your customers. So I think the worst strategy around pricing is like, let's do this and see what happens kind of approach, right?
Yeah, 100%. I really like that. And that is like what you said there about that being the worst strategy. And sometimes that can be the case. Like if you're early into your journey of building product and technology, some founders might be, let's just do this and see what happens to try and convert people. Yeah. Okay, so into the next section, what customers say versus what they mean, right? So our first thought is the surface level complaint. This is when customers say something, but they might actually mean something completely different. Often customers will leave companies due to poor experience, but this could include a whole number of things, from addressing grievances, lacking of knowledge base, product issues, maybe it's like pricing. These are all kind of related to Qualaroo's research. But here's what happens. Customers use price as the socially acceptable reason to leave, when actually what they're saying when they say that it's too expensive, they often are meaning perhaps, I couldn't actually figure out how to use this. I can't figure out how to get value from this product. Maybe the time investment wasn't worth the outcome that I received from the technology. Maybe your competitor's product is just easier to use. Or even worse, I felt stupid using the platform. I mean, how many times do you hear that from people and they go, oh, it's just me, I'm not very good at technology.
Yeah, well, especially with like older generation, right? Like if I'm talking to my mom, she always says like she's just stupid and that she doesn't know how to use stuff, which is completely not true.
No, it's not true. It's just that it hasn't been considered. And therefore it's very difficult to use.
Yeah.
And that does not mean that it's a reflection of your intelligence.
Yes, but also but what you're saying here is actually quite interesting, that people saying it's too expensive, but they just say it because it's more acceptable to say that. Everybody takes that as a given and they just can go on with their life, but actually never telling you what the real reason why they're leaving.
Yeah, well, like sometimes it's kind of difficult to actually articulate it. And, you know, if it's something that, you know, that's like a big kick on your ego, if it's making you feel stupid using the platform, we're not actually going to openly like say that to somebody. So price is just an easier way of kind of brushing off the conversation and giving you some feedback still, but moving forward.
So even like if you run like some kind of exit interview or exit surveys, they still might not tell you really why they left.
Yeah, it might be just really complicated to explain. Imagine how complicated some products are, multiple user flows. You might, it could take a lot for somebody to get really to the detail. You know, you've got those just keep asking why, and you don't really get to the actual answer until you're 5 whys down. So those exit interviews on a survey, price is probably the easiest thing to say that's why it was.
And another thing about surveys, right? We mentioned in some other episodes that surveys, if we have predetermined answers without allowing people to enter whatever the reason was, that's kind of like providing us really with no new information. Okay, Simon, so this is really interesting. And why is this really happening? Like, why is this so difficult to get the real reason why people are leaving your platform?
That's a great question, Anastasia. I think there's like tons of things that it could be, but let's dig into 3 of them. 3 kind of biases. The first one, socially desirability bias. So 92% of customer interview responses are influenced by what people think the founder wants to hear, not their true opinions, done by some market research association in 2023. So your customer is your biggest cheerleader, but at the same time your worst enemies, as they're kind of giving you what you want to hear, not what is actually the truth.
That's really interesting, but it probably is happening with not just interviews, but just on in general. We want to please the person that we're talking to. We don't want to upset them. But I didn't know it was 92%. It's huge. So 92%.
It is huge. Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And I think that's why it's so important to have a solid process when you're speaking with your customers. Like, it can be so confusing because you can spend a lot of time with your customers marketing to them, selling to them, and kind of be fooled by the illusion that you're actually receiving kind of thorough research back on that. And that's probably why this I'm guessing this statistic has kind of come out like this, is because somebody will be making a sale and then at the same time think that they're getting customer feedback.
Yeah, it's like a false positive, isn't it? But we've seen it a lot. Like when we're teaching founders and businesses how to run the interviews, we actually specifically tell them what questions to ask and how to ask them, so that we don't get those nicey answers, and we want people to be like really rough and really sort of even angry with us, because you don't want to like really good feedback. You want a feedback that gives you some meat to work with, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's how and it's all about setting up that process, having a structure that you follow, and you do it with a consistent number of people. Then you take that data set and analyze it and move forward. And this is how you kind of overcome these quite powerful biases from yourself and the customer's point of view.
Amazing.
So on top of that, there's the interviewer bias. So 83% of startup founders unconsciously ask leading questions that confirm the pre-existing beliefs about customer needs, right? This is from the Journal of Business Research, again, 2023. And so you're kind of like not interviewing customers, you're coaching them to validate your assumptions.
Oh my God. So basically it's from two sides. The interview is doomed from two sides. So you have a customer who actually doesn't want to like offend you, and you have an interviewer who is asking leading questions. I remember one of our clients recently that was working with us in our coaching program, and she said, remember what she said after we've sort of finished this couple of weeks program with that, and she said, you know, guys, I now understand exactly what you meant when you told me that you will get whatever answer you want if you ask leading questions. And I think we've seen it a lot from everyone that we actually worked with, right? Even very experienced research people make this mistake, and they ask leading questions. So instead of like, how do you feel about X, they said, how do you like X, right? Yeah. That's already his leading question, because you're already telling somebody like, you like this, right? Yep. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. So on top of your social desirability bias, the interview bias, the interviewer bias, and then you've also got courtesy bias. So according to Harvard Business School Customer Development Study, again in 2023, 91% of people won't tell founder that their product idea is bad during customer discovery interviews. Wow, that's so unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
Nobody wants to be a villain in your startup story, so they're all lying protagonists instead. Lovely.
Oh God! So you're basically doomed. Nobody will tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
So basically, you really need to have like very good technique in order to extract from people what they actually thinking, not just relying on what they're telling you as you ask some initial questions.
Yeah, that's it. It's so interesting. You know, if you think about Y Combinator, you know, and their advice for founders, it's like just to spend as much time as possible with your customers and understanding the problem, and just, you know, dig into that. And I guess that's because the more time you spend with them, the more likely you are to overcome these biases and see through your own sort of patterns. So if you come out to it and you kind of aren't really giving it that time and you want to go straight into build and developing, it's really important to have like a solid process that's like optimized, tried, tested, you know is going to work, and can help you kind of cut out all of that stuff.
Yes, and also like saving lots of money probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how many products we have tested with before building anything and they were like no good.
Yeah.
Imagine if we spend time building them and then launching them and investing in marketing, and then you find out they're no good.
Yeah, but no one wants to hear that your idea is no good.
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't like that. But you have to kind of like be okay with this, and be just fine to move on, right?
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying is it's very difficult to get the actual information from the customers. It's not enough just talking to them. You need to know how to talk to them, right?
Yeah.
And
when you say, oh, just go and talk to your customers, it sounds like such an easy thing, and everyone's like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that.
Oh yeah, do you remember this startup lady that we worked with? And she, I think we were actually witnessing her testing her interview with clearly somebody that she was close with, and she was asking how that person liked her product, and she was like, yeah, it's great, I love it, everything is great, it's very easy to use, it's understandable, and you can tell that, you know, that's not genuine reaction, because if somebody like really looked into the product, like I've never had anyone who is not like, if somebody is not your friend, they're just not gonna be like that, right? That's it's so important, like to just not test with your friends and family as well.
Yeah, there's another thing about just picking your the people that you reach out to interview with, is you go with the easiest people to talk to, you know. Yeah. Somebody that you're already working with or that's engaged, and it's kind of like it's going to give you some false starters.
Yeah, and this morning I was actually listening to Joe Dispenza, and he said something interesting, that your brain is not there to make you successful. Your brain is there to keep you safe, right? So that means that by default, our brain will be like, don't talk to these people. You don't know them. Just talk to these people because you know them, so they can be nicer to you, right?
Yeah.
So I think we all have this like embedded in our brains, unfortunately. But the good news is that we have a couple of strategies that we use, and the you guys, if you're listening or watching this, you also can use this to work out whether it's actually your product experience or it's the price that is causing the churn, right? Because that's what we want to talk about this in this episode. So you're saying a lot of people thinking it's the price, but we're saying you can actually check whether it's the price or it's a product experience that's causing your issues. Now, there's two moments when we can do it. One moment we can test it when it's before the churn. So whilst we see something is maybe happening and we're not sure in our product, so then we can use this strategy number one. And then there's also option after the churn, so after somebody left, which sometimes could be it's quite difficult because people don't care anymore about you, and they probably moved on and forgot. So there's two methods. So one is the behavior pattern analysis before the churn. So clear product experience problem indicators could be that your support tickets volume increases, about functionality, usability, sort of that kind of issues, right? So,
yeah, that's a great one, because you then will have an understanding of specifically where the problem is.
Yes.
When it's support tickets, it depending on what you're using, but my guess is for the most part you'll know where there's an issue because it will just come up. So that can be a good one.
That's the easiest one, right? If you have a platform that collects like DeskZen or whatever, that collects the tickets. Zendesk, yes. Did I say that?
I think you said DeskZen.
Okay, Zendesk. Yeah. If it collects issues that people have, that's awesome. This is such a great source, and I know you've done it so many times for your clients, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really forgotten, and it's like people really struggle into going through all of those tickets and kind of get insights.
Yeah, customer support can be a goldmine for.
Yes, and I know now probably people using AI, which could be a good or bad thing depending how you do it. But that gave your clients such a massive benefit, like for doing that, right? And they were sitting on that information, but they were not sure how to go through it and get valuable insights. But I know you have like great system to doing that. Mm-hmm. So, well, tell us about your system. Like, is
remind me which system I'm looking at.
Well, in one of the places that you work with, I remember you went through NPS score, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
And you collected so much information from that allows you guys to actually made massive changes for the company.
Yeah, they weren't necessarily support tickets, though. It was more feedback.
But it's kind of similar,
NPS.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The gist is the same. People are not happy and they tell you about it.
Yeah, exactly, I guess. Yeah, because they had the open field piece. So in the NPS, it was the open field piece, and you just had an open query where people could basically just like let rip about the business and how they were unhappy and the specific bits. Yeah. And fascinatingly, kind of, majority of the people didn't look at that because it's just a lot of data to go through. I think there maybe might have been like 800, 900 bits within the space of a month. So I just went through quite methodically to figure out, okay, what are the people saying in this? Like, what are they angry about? What are the themes? What are the stuff coming up? And did quite a bit of analysis to pull that apart. And that actually set us on such an amazing footing to then improve, look at the architecture and figure out, okay, what needed to change, which then ended up on like massive conversion improvements and retention, because it just made things easier. Some of the challenging things that people were looking for, they couldn't find because there was no space for that on the sort of online portal at the time. So we actually implemented like whole new pages specifically for the items, and then we used labeling and terms and everything that were included in that, so it was in the language of the customer. And it was really quite cool. Is that the bit that you were referring to?
Yes, absolutely, because I love that story. And so looking at the support tickets or NPS complaints, it's one of the indicators. If they complain about functionality or usability, that's one of the indicators you probably might have product experience issues. Another one is if we see feature adoption rate decrease, right? So if people stop using features, it could be indicator that they know how to use it. They might have forgotten how to use it. Like I
don't know how to use it.
Don't know how to use it. No, but it says like the feature adoption drops. So they might have been using it, but they stop using it. Depends how you look at it.
Okay, interesting.
But you know what? I use Revolut a lot, but I have to say they're constantly making the interface more and more complex. And every time I need to do the same thing, I need to remind myself and like work out from start how to do it. Which obviously is not a great approach.
Well, I think Revolut does so many things. I saw a chart once with one consultant that was doing a reference of different products and services, fintechs, I think, and it was I can't remember what the name of the chart is. It wasn't a Gantt chart, but it was like a grid of how many features each fintech had. And Revolut was up here with like the most.
Everything.
Yeah, it's got so many things on it. I mean, they do a pretty damn job of the experience, but
taking into account how many things you can do it,
but it just has so much in there.
But they're making so much money, so nobody cares. But what I'm saying is like if the feature adoption is going down, that could be a signal there's something going on with the experience of especially if you like launch the feature and it's not actually picking up.
If it was working before and then it goes down and maybe you've changed something, like architecture, maybe it's now slightly hidden. Like you were saying, they can't be found. Good thing to dig in there.
So another example of when you might have seeing the beginning of problems is when the session duration drops. So let's say people were using it for longer and then now they're using less of your application. But obviously, again, like with everything, we say it depends, right? Because I remember I was working with one client and they launched a brand new app and they were super excited about the fact that people were spending more time in the app, right? But when we started digging deeper and run interviews and stuff like that, we discovered that people were spending more time because they couldn't find anything. So that's not the improvement we want to see. And as we always say, like look at the data, but also look at the reasons behind. Don't guess them.
I mean, contextually, what is this product doing and how is it serving people? And like actually, duration dropping could be a damn good sign.
It could be potentially, but whenever we see some kind of change, we should like investigate it, right?
Exactly. So the data, the qualitative data is telling you something is happening, the what, but your qualitative data is the why. So you dig into that with your interviews to figure out why is that thing happening? Is it good or bad?
Yeah, that's true. Another thing I would say that if you're tracking the clicks around your platform and you start analyzing and seeing people like just like click around with no point, like so they don't follow particular flow or particular task, if they just click around, it might be that your product experience is a bit confusing as well.
It could be loads of things on the page. Art direction of the page, you've got clear headings, the titles. Is it easy to visually like make your way around what it is that you're looking at? Do people understand? If they're just aimlessly
but they just try, probably they're like, I don't know what this might be, like, so I'm click on it, maybe this is the one I'm looking for. So definitely something to look into. If we see multiple logins and actually not very low action or task completion, that also could be a sign that something is not right. So people are logging into the platform, but they're not finishing we want them to complete there. That could be a clear sign that maybe the flow is confusing. They maybe get lost or
login issues could be.
No, the login. It's not going to be a login issue because we say logins are high.
But they might be being logged out.
Or maybe they're being logged out. I don't know. Who knows? And then complaints about workload difficulties or confusing interfaces, right? So if we are running some interviews with people, with our customers, and they're already telling us that they don't know how to do stuff, that's a super clear, obviously, a signal that that's a product experience that could be driving your churn rather than price. Now let's think about the price issues indicators, right? Because we said this is the method that you would use before the churn happens. So So let's say you have a product and the usage remains stable or maybe even increases. Future adoption continues to grow, so everything is going well. But support tickets focus specifically on billing and contract questions, right? So not so much on the product usability or functionality. And maybe people are mentioning that the competitor's pricing or is better, or they have budget constraints, right? If you get that kind of signals, we might start thinking, okay, is our pricing is okay? You can also get questions about the lower tier plans or payment extensions or some kind of discount codes, right? That also can be indication that people love your product, but maybe pricing is not great, right? So I guess if you're seeing positive feedback about everything about your product, but concerns about financial side of it, that could be a good indicator that something is going on around price, but your product experience is good.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is that then the communication and the inward traffic and comms from customers is very focused around pricing.
Yeah.
And it's solely on that. That
Yes,
makes it very
correct.
clear that that's your kind of indicator is it's pricing rather than the experience.
So let's talk about method 2, which is the exit interview, right? So it's after somebody dropped off and they left your product. And what happens quite often, the companies will ask you, is this the price? So is this the price that made you leave, right? Because we thinking it's the price, so that's what we do. We're asking the leading question, right?
Yeah, the leading question again.
Yeah, and don't just say why you are leaving, right? We want to ask what would have made you stay. Right, so it's much so instead of saying why are you leaving or like is it the price, which is very confrontational, right? If we ask what would have made you stay, we're really looking to the future, right? To forward rather than backwards into the sort of bad experience. And it also encourages them to think openly about the improvements that we could implement. And also highlights the missing value they were looking for, right? So really highlights what they need, not just some kind of random ideas. People often leave for multiple small reasons rather than one big one, like really, really big one, right? So we want to dig into those small reasons.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying there around actually the difference between those two questions, because is it the price that made you leave? It's so specific and it's really small, and you're not going to get too much out of that other than yes or no. Whereas what would have made you stay is a much more open, expansive question, and then you can have a conversation around, or get them ideally to talk openly around the problems of why they didn't stay and how you could kind of improve. So it's like opening up that space of discussing the problem that you're trying to solve.
But also it's very positive, and it's open up for possibilities and opportunities rather than being negative and be like, oh, you left me.
Yeah.
Right? Which people in general don't like confrontation like that. Okay, so when somebody left, the things that could indicate that the reason was product experience, they obviously could describe specific workflow frustrations. They could mention time wasted trying to accomplish a task. They compare easy to use competitors that they might already be using, which is then really, really sad for us. And they might say, oh, if it only was easier to do this, but I never could figure out X, Y, Z. And also quite often they might say that I've tried to use it many times, but it just wasn't for me. I got confused and just left, right? So that's very clear product experience indicators. There's an issue with your product experience. Now let's quickly cover, if you do exit interview after people left, what could be indicating the pricing. So they mentioned specifically budget constraints, right? Or company-wide cuts if it's a B2B situation, right? They provide competitors' pricing comparisons while praising your product. So might say, oh, your product is better, but it's just the other guys have much cheaper solution. And they might be asking again about lower cost alternatives. within your platform express satisfaction with the product but cite affordability concerns. And again, Maya mentioned that they wanted to have more flexibility and different plans, maybe some discounts and stuff like that. So those kind of like two techniques or methods you guys can use if you want to validate whether you have problem with price or product experience, and you can do it in both times, whilst it's happening, the churn, and also when it's already happened. Now, what I really, really like, and we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, Simon, is this product experience sort of price metrics. Like, what is the combinations, the worst and the best combinations that we want to be in if we have a product, right? So scenario one is if we have high price but poor product experience, we probably will get immediate churn, right? So if it's like very expensive but really crap, people were just thinking, oh, not only it's expensive, but it's also really difficult to use. So it's like the worst. We don't want to be in that space. But I think a lot of actual products is in that space.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. I saw one platform recently for LinkedIn sort of leads or something it was, I don't remember. And I think it was like £400 a month. But the experience was absolutely shocking. I didn't know how to do things. And plus they had this video supposed to inform me how to use them, but the videos were from the time when the interface looked different. So when I started watching the videos, I actually couldn't work out where those elements are in the new interface. So that was this scenario number one, which I think a lot of people might not believe that's possible, but it happens actually very, very often. Scenario number two, when you have a high price and great product experience, it's actually putting your product in the premium positioning, right? So then you can actually ask for more money. Like PwC said, if you have amazing customer experience, you can charge 16% more. So customer might be thinking it's worth every penny because it saves me hundreds of hours of frustration and whatever, solves my problem. Right?
Yeah, well, an important thing to unpack there in the actual, like, what makes a great product experience is that it's actually solving a proper problem.
Yes.
And that really can be huge, where the poor product experience might be that it's just not really solving a big enough challenge for somebody. So it's not really worth anything, even at a low price.
A very bad scenario is if we have a low price and poor product experience. That's just basically a no-go. And people probably will think, even though it's cheap, it's a headache to use, right? So that's like we can just close the business down. Now, probably the best scenario that most businesses want to be in is to have low price and great product experience, because then you just dominate the market. Everybody's loving it. People are just thinking this is incredible value, and why they're not charging more, right? So then you explode and just go crazy. So this combination of pricing and product experience is very important. So maybe that's something that if you guys listening or watching this, you can figure out where does your product sit today.
Yeah, great point, Anastasia. And I love that last scenario with the low price, great customer experience. It is like...
That's a dream.
It's the world domination, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. So our simple strategy to help fix the price versus experience gap is to like have a look at the foundation of your product experience. And we do that by setting up customer experience sessions. And in those sessions, we're figuring out what is it that your product is doing. Is it like actually adding the value? Is it valuable for those using it? And is the product experience like genuinely easy to use? And we run those sessions for our clients, and it never fails. We always uncover kind of blockers through that process, 10 to 50 kind of minimum. And they're often not really related to pricing. Often it can be around the actual experience. And in that process, we'll overcome the product's like market fit. So we can just kind of refine things and make them like even better, improving kind of what they have already. For example, one of our clients like actually just increased their retention by 93%, and that wasn't even looking at the prices. They didn't do anything with the prices. It was all about the actual experience itself. So there's a really like important process to uncover things. And not only did they do that, they then also improved their like premium tier. Their subscription kind of went up and above what they'd forecast previously. So that's like really a great way to assess the fundamentals of your product, is to run some very well prepared and thought out analysis of how people are using the product at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And usually it answers like most questions anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So then secondly, we want to kind of like align the pricing with the value creation. So, charge based on the customer outcomes, not like just some arbitrary kind of figures. Figure out like how much people are willing to pay for the problem that you're solving. That's the second point. Third point is iterating based on real feedback. So, we set up a process and we listen to what our customers are actually saying and remove all of those biases that we might have. So we're not actually making decisions on assumptions or like potential price sensitivity. That's the third point. Fourth point, measure what matters. So we use success metrics, not kind of engagement or sign-ups, activations, task completion, conversion, retention, churn, lifetime value, and customer kind of satisfaction. So it's just like the whole kind of bucket of metrics there, and not just looking at the stuff at the start, the engagement bit and sign up. It's actually the whole experience and particular journeys. If you've got like a task that someone needs to go and kind of complete, have a look at the whole thing. And finally, our last point on that kind of simple process to figure out, is it the customer experience or the pricing, is like continuously improve. So you like set up these customer sessions and you run them regularly, and you make sure you adjust based on a kind of unbiased understanding of your customer feedback. Summary and takeaway of today's session is we're trying to figure out, is it the product experience or the pricing
that's causing the churn?
That's causing churn.
Yeah.
Causing customers to like screw off. So like our takeaways are, product and customer experience problems are often disguise themselves in a price objection. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when customers can't get value, any price just feels too high for them. Successful companies will optimize product experience to justify pricing. Don't cut prices thinking it's going to overcome a shoddy customer experience. Mm-hmm. Second point, great product experiences enable premium pricing. Like if you hit the nail on the head and you find a really sticky problem and you can solve that better than anyone else in your market, you can charge what you want. Don't forget, like 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for a great customer experience. So we want to make sure that if we charge more, we provide appropriate value, and the experience like delivers on that. Finally, behavioral analysis beats assumptions. So we want to like look at usage of patterns, not just like exits on surveys, and we want to kind of identify real issues. So running these customer sessions with real people and witness firsthand where the blockers are and difficulties and what's happening, so you know what to improve within the experience. If you're constantly competing on price, your perceived value and product experience isn't differentiated enough. Remember, companies winning today, they make price less relevant through superior experiences.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So in today's episode, we obviously spoke about whether it's your pricing or your product experience that causing the churn. So we would like to give you a little challenge, right? If you are seeing the churn, book 3 sessions next week with users that have left, and ask them what would have made them stay, and see if it's more about pricing or it's more about product experience. And you got the frameworks that we provided for you to work with. And thanks so much for tuning in to Building Great Tech. If this episode made you rethink your last pricing experiment, very good. That means that you're ready to look deeper. So if you know someone who is tweaking the pricing all the time, please share this episode with them. Hopefully it will be useful for them as well. Connect with us on LinkedIn and other social media. Send us questions. We might answer them here for you. And finally, go to buildinggreattech.com for our free guides and tips on how to make your platform more profitable and customer focused. See you next time.